Imagine a couple who have been married for over 40 years, a partnership that has withstood the test of time, family dramas, health challenges, career shifts, and everything life has thrown their way. They have grown old together, created cherished memories, and experienced all the intimacy and closeness that come from a lifetime spent side by side. For decades, they have slept in the same bed, often without giving it much thought, accepting as natural and even necessary the nightly ritual of lying down together. Now, as they move into the later chapters of their lives, they find themselves asking an unexpected question. Should they continue sleeping together, or would it actually be healthier for both their minds and bodies to move into separate bedrooms? This question, while once taboo, is becoming more and more common among older couples. Traditional wisdom held that married partners should share a bed as a sign of unity and love. The bed was often romanticized as a sacred space where two people remain connected, even in their most vulnerable state of sleep. Many of us grow up with images, both cultural and personal, that equate sleeping beside your spouse with the truest form of companionship. To sleep apart could be seen as a sign of trouble, distance, or an emotional chasm that had opened over the years. But times change, and so do our bodies and our priorities. As people age, new factors enter the equation. Sleep itself becomes more complicated. Conditions like insomnia, sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, or chronic pain may interfere with restful sleep. One partner might snore loudly, leaving the other tossing and turning, irritated and exhausted by morning. Differences in mattress preference, room temperature, or even the need for a nightlight versus pitch darkness become magnified. What once seemed like minor quirks can now feel like obstacles to genuine rest. Without quality sleep, both partners may find themselves irritable, less patient, and less able to enjoy each other's company the following day. Over time, resentment can creep in and overshadow the warmth and understanding that took decades to cultivate. This growing awareness has led many couples to consider separate sleeping arrangements. The idea is no longer automatically synonymous with failing love. Instead, it can reflect a pragmatic approach to sustaining a long-term relationship. The logic goes something like this. If both individuals get better sleep, they will approach their shared life from a place of emotional equilibrium. With adequate rest, they can be kinder, more attentive, and more appreciative of one another. Ironically, sleeping apart might actually preserve or even enhance the romance they fear losing. But it's not that simple. There's a reason this topic stirs up such strong feelings. Part of it is cultural. In many Western societies of the 20th century, the ideal of the marital bed became deeply ingrained. The notion that true love means sharing a bed every single night took root, reinforced by media, social expectations, and family traditions. To suggest separate bedrooms could raise eyebrows, as if admitting that the couple was slowly drifting apart or had encountered a serious intimacy problem. This stigma lingers today, making the decision to sleep separately feel like stepping into taboo territory. Many older couples worry that friends, children, or grandchildren might misunderstand their choice and view it as a symptom of a failing marriage. But as research on sleep and relationship health evolves, we learn that what matters most is quality of interaction, not the technicalities of sleeping arrangements. Therapists and couples counselors increasingly emphasize that there's no universal formula for what a healthy marriage looks like behind closed doors. Some couples thrive on constant closeness, others on well-defined personal space. Some need to share every aspect of their daily routine, while others prefer distinct spheres of comfort. Sleep, given its enormous impact on mood, health, and cognitive function, is a domain where personal preference and well-being may justifiably trump tradition. Now consider the emotional dimension more deeply. Older couples are often navigating a stage of life filled with transitions. They may be dealing with retirement, shifts in social circles, health scares, the loss of friends or siblings, and the gradual waning of certain physical abilities. In this vulnerable stage, the bed can sometimes become a place of tension, not relaxation. If one partner is constantly waking the other with snoring or midnight trips to the bathroom, both parties may wake feeling drained and less capable of offering emotional support throughout the day. This can create a subtle but growing distance between them, paradoxically rooted in the very arrangement that is supposed to symbolize their closeness. On the other hand, sleeping apart can be a double-edged sword if not approached thoughtfully. Some people are nurtured by the feeling of another body beside them, by the quiet reassurance of a spouse's presence in the dark. For these individuals, separate bedrooms can feel like a painful loss of intimacy. If one person suggests separate sleeping quarters and the other interprets it as rejection, it can spark hurt feelings and fears of abandonment. The decision to move out of the shared bedroom should never be unilateral or forced. It requires honest, compassionate communication where both partners explain their needs, worries, and hopes. If framed as a mutual decision made to improve the quality of life for both individuals, the shift can be seen as a loving act rather than a betrayal of their marital bond. Interestingly, historians and anthropologists note that the notion of sharing a bed every single night as a hallmark of marital success is relatively modern. In various periods of history, it was not uncommon for couples, especially those of higher social standing, to maintain separate bedrooms for reasons of comfort, privacy, or health. The Victorian era, for example, saw certain upper-class couples sleeping apart without it necessarily signifying a lack of love. Only in more recent times did we embed the expectation that a truly loving marriage means literally sleeping together. Understanding this historical context can free older couples from the feeling that they are breaking some eternal rule of marriage. Instead, they are returning to a more flexible understanding of personal space and comfort within long-term relationships. If a couple does decide to experiment with separate bedrooms, how might they handle it to maintain or even enhance their connection? They could develop rituals that keep intimacy alive. Perhaps they spend an hour together in one of the bedrooms before sleeping, talking quietly, holding hands, or even snuggling. Then, when it's time to truly rest, they part amicably, knowing that tomorrow they'll wake up feeling better. They could plan morning coffee time together or share a pleasant breakfast in bed, maybe alternating whose room hosts the morning chat. These simple gestures affirm that the emotional core of their partnership remains strong, despite any physical distance during sleep. Some couples report that sleeping apart actually increases the excitement around intimacy. Instead of taking the other's presence for granted, they might visit each other's rooms, bringing back a sense of romance and novelty. The conscious decision to enter the other's sleeping space becomes a loving gesture, more deliberate and meaningful than the default assumption that they must lie side by side each night. Distance can, in small and controlled doses, foster desire and appreciation. Unexpectedly, this arrangement might counter the familiarity-based complacency that can settle into long marriages. It's almost as if giving each other a bit of breathing room allows the flames of affection to rekindle with renewed vigor. Of course, this scenario won't work for everyone. Some couples may try separate bedrooms and find it leaves them feeling lonely or disconnected. If the experiment fails, they can always return to the shared bed. The point is not to impose a universal solution, but rather to recognize that older couples have more options than they might realize. There's no reason to suffer through years of poor sleep just to uphold a norm that may not serve them anymore. Each marriage is unique, and as the years pass, what worked in the earlier phases might need adjusting. The beauty of a mature relationship is that it can evolve, reflecting the growth and changing needs of both partners. Aging itself is a journey of adaptation and acceptance. Bodies change, lifestyles shift, and priorities realign. We accept reading glasses, hearing aids, dietary restrictions, and lighter social calendars, all in the pursuit of comfort and well-being. Why should the sleeping arrangement be any different? If separate bedrooms provide relief from joint pain exacerbated by a restless bedmate, or if it gives someone the quiet darkness they need to sleep through the night, this adaptation might be just as important as any medical advice. Sleep, after all, is not a luxury. It's essential for cognitive function, mood regulation, and overall physical health. Without it, even the strongest marriage can feel strained. One of the keys is to handle external perceptions gracefully. If well-intentioned family members ask why mom and dad no longer share a room, the couple might respond calmly, "We realize we both sleep better this way, and it's actually improved our relationship during the day." Normalizing this choice can help dismantle the stigma that might still linger in some circles. Another couple might choose not to share this detail at all, keeping it private. There's no obligation to explain personal sleep arrangements to outsiders. The important thing is that the couple themselves feels comfortable and confident in their choice. In discussions with psychologists and counselors specializing in later life issues, a recurring theme emerges. Emotional well-being in long-term relationships is often about small but impactful changes that respect each person's individuality. Couples who have spent decades together are experts at adapting to each other's changing needs. Accepting separate bedrooms can be seen as part of that process, an act of mature love that says, "I recognize your comfort and health are important, and I'm willing to step out of a traditional pattern if it means we both live more happily." This decision also interacts with questions of identity and romance. Some fear that separate bedrooms signify a cooling of passion. Yet, romance is not merely defined by sharing a bed. Romance emerges in how partners treat each other, the kindness they show, the interest they take in one another's thoughts and feelings, the way they listen attentively and offer support. It's found in those quiet moments of understanding, the small surprises, the continued curiosity about the other's inner world. These qualities do not disappear if the couple sleeps apart. If anything, better-rested individuals are more likely to have the emotional energy for thoughtful gestures of love. For some couples, sleeping apart might encourage them to explore new avenues of connection. They might read together before bed in one room, then part ways and sleep deeply, each rising refreshed to greet the next day. They might schedule regular date nights to keep the spark alive, knowing that restful sleep makes them more enthusiastic about shared activities. They might discover that occasional sleepovers in one bedroom or the other feel special again, like a chosen treat rather than a default expectation. It's also important to emphasize that none of this means every older couple should rush into separate bedrooms. Many remain perfectly content sharing a bed well into their later years, finding comfort and continuity in that arrangement. The point is that there is no single recipe. Flexibility and open-mindedness are valuable virtues in any long-standing relationship. The couple that thrives sleeping side by side can keep doing so, while another that benefits from a bit more space at night should feel free to embrace that solution. Finally, we must remember that all of this is about enhancing the quality of the partnership. Age brings enough challenges without adding unnecessary strain from poor sleep or forced arrangements. By approaching the question of separate bedrooms with honesty, kindness, and creativity, older couples can find a path that honors their shared history and mutual care. If sleeping apart leads to brighter mornings, calmer conversations, and a renewed capacity for humor and warmth, then it may well be the quiet secret to preserving romance rather than the end of it. In the end, the question of separate bedrooms boils down to what truly matters in a loving relationship. Is it dogmatic adherence to a convention, or is it the adaptive, compassionate effort to ensure each partner feels their best? If the answer is the latter, then separate sleeping arrangements can indeed be a source of salvation rather than a harbinger of doom. Far from ending romance, they might just help it flourish anew in the golden years, when both partners deserve peaceful, rejuvenating rest, and the gentle joys of each other's well-tended hearts.